On the plains of the Kalahari, there's one unwritten rule. Whoever is bigger eats first. But this morning, someone has just decided to break that rule. In the burnt yellow grass, 30 tiny heads snap up at once, eyes ringed with black, like little sunglasses, noses tilted up, sniffing the wind. This is a squad of meerkats, small, but many, and most importantly, very, very hungry. And there, right in front of them, lying in the sun, is a treasure, a single egg. But not an ordinary egg. It's as big as a meerkat's whole head,
Deep
its
within
shell
the termite
thick as
mound,
stone,
the colony
and
escapes
inside
the
is
worst
the
of
richest,
the heat.
most
But duty
protein-packed
calls,
meal
and the
this
sentinels
desert can
emerge
offer.
to scan the shimmering horizon.
There's just one small problem. The owner of that egg stands nearly 2.5 meters tall, weighs more than 100 kilograms, and can deliver a kick powerful enough to bring down a lion. And she has just turned around. 30 tiny thieves, one furious, giant mother, and a single egg lying right in the middle. The boldest egg heist in all of Africa begins right now. Welcome to the Kalahari, one of the harshest lands on the planet. Out here, the sun doesn't shine, it punishes. By day, the sand grows hot enough to cook an egg, quite literally. By night, the temperature plunges toward freezing. Water is rarer than kindness, and in this natural oven, every single calorie is gold. To understand today's story, we need to meet both sides. First, the giant, the ostrich, the largest living bird on Earth. She cannot fly, and honestly, she doesn't need to. Her legs are two living springs, carrying her forward at 70 kilometers an hour, each stride stretching up to 5 meters. Her eyes are bigger than her own brain, the largest eyes of any land animal, and they can pick out movement kilometers away. But the most fearsome thing about her isn't her speed, it's her kick. The claw on her foot is as long as a dagger. One straight kick from an ostrich can disembowel a leopard. So when she stands guard over her nest, the whole savannah understands the rule. Keep your distance. And in her nest right now, tucked beneath a shallow layer of sand, are her unborn young. The largest eggs in the world, each one weighing as much as 24 chicken eggs combined. Now, the second side, the tiny gang, the meerkat, less than 30 centimeters tall, weighing less than a bag of sugar. At first glance, they're so adorable you'd want to take one home, but don't let that fool you. Meerkats live in mobs, and a mob runs like a well-trained army. There are sentries who stand watch, expert diggers, even babysitters for the pups. They communicate with more than 30 distinct sounds, almost a language of their own. They'll take on a cobra, and they'll eat a venomous scorpion after neatly biting off its stinger. What one meerkat cannot do, 30 of them can. And today, all 30 are looking in the very same direction, because the dry season has dragged on too long. The insects have burrowed deep. Every belly is empty. And back in the burrow, newborn pups are crying to be fed. Then the lead meerkat, let's call her the captain, climbs onto a termite mound, stands up straight as a soldier, and she sees it. A giant egg, gleaming in the sun, less than 100 meters away. Enough protein to feed the whole mob for days. And in the captain's head, there is just one simple thought. That is now ours. The only problem? She's forgotten the hard part of the plan. The part with 2 legs, each 2 meters long, and one deadly kick. Meerkats are not reckless creatures. They are calculators. Before making a move, the captain sends 2 scouts ahead. They creep along the grass, low to the ground, pausing every few steps to stand tall and survey. Their bodies stay almost frozen, only the head swiveling slowly, like a security camera that learned to walk. And here's what they discover. The egg is not alone. It belongs to a communal nest, a place where several ostrich hens lay their eggs together. And that nest has a guard. The mother ostrich is standing a few dozen meters off, calmly preening her feathers, as if she couldn't care less. But
in the
as
arid
if
Kalahari,
is a dangerous
the
phrase,
guardian ostrich
because those
shifts her
enormous
weight,
eyes
while
see
the meerkats
everything.
maintain their
The
vigilant
ostrich
watch
has already
against
noticed
predators.
her tiny visitors. She simply hasn't bothered to react. In her world, creatures this small aren't worth lifting a foot for. That is her first mistake. The scouts return. There's a kind of meeting, a burst of soft, chittering squeaks. Then the whole mob spreads out. And this is the moment you realize meerkats don't attack head-on. They play mind games. 3 of them peel away, circle to one side of the nest, and begin to annoy. They hop, they squeak loudly, they pretend to dig right in front of the ostrich mother, like naughty children deliberately winding up a grown-up. The ostrich spins around, feathers puffed, stamping her foot. The 3 troublemakers scatter instantly, but just slowly enough that she chases them a few steps. And every step she takes away from the nest is a step that Egg is left unguarded. This is the meerkat version of luring the tiger down from the mountain. While 3 actors play the role of bait out front, behind her, the rest of the squad is quietly closing in on the target, the ostrich. Tall, powerful, but with only one head that can look in one direction, has walked straight into the trap without ever knowing it. More than 20 meerkats now swarm around the egg, and now they face their second enemy, one that can't kick but is every bit as stubborn, the egg itself. An ostrich eggshell is up to 2 millimeters thick. That sounds thin, but to a creature the size of your hand, it's a bank vault. A single meerkat could pry at it all day and get nowhere. But they don't have just one. The whole mob piles in, clawing, biting, shoving. They try to roll it, and a sphere weighing over 1.5 kilos begins to wobble, to tip, then to roll through a sea of frantic little legs. It looks exactly like a tiny football team fighting over the biggest ball of their lives. Then one climbs right on top, driving its whole body weight down. Another finds a small crack and jams in its snout to lever it open. Crack. A single fracture spreads. But at that very instant, the ground trembles. The ostrich has realized she's been fooled. She comes back like a storm. 2.5 meters of height, charged straight for the nest. Wings flung wide to look even more massive. As a beak gaping in a low, grinding hiss. A sound every creature on the Kalahari understands to mean, leave. Now. And then the first kick lands. An ostrich foot slams into the earth, hurling up sand and grass. The meerkats break formation, scattering in every direction like beans flicked off a hot pan. A second kick. A third. Each one strong enough to end any who don't dodge in time. But here is the marvel of the meerkat. They don't fully panic. They retreat with discipline. Even while running, they cry out shrill alarm calls, a living early warning system. Any that get cornered stand up straight, puff out their fur, bare their teeth, and hiss loudly to look twice their size. A creature the size of your hand, standing tall to defy an animal 100 times its weight? That isn't stupidity. That is courage forged in hunger. But courage doesn't beat a kick that can disembowel a
In the
leopard.
harsh Kalahari,
The
every
captain
grain
knows
of
it.
sand
She
holds
signals the
significance.
retreat. The raid, it seems, has failed. The whole mob pulls back to the edge of the grass, panting, empty-handed.
As the morning
ostrich
wind
stands
picks
guard
up
over
across
her
the
clutch,
Kalahari,
chest
the yellow
heaving,
mongoose stays
eyes
alert,
blazing.
constantly
She has
scanning
won.
the
She has
horizon for
protected
danger
her
while
young.
foraging.
But wait, the captain isn't looking at the nest. She's staring at something else, a few meters away, hidden behind a clump of grass. The cracked egg. In all the chaos, the egg they'd started to break had rolled out of the nest and down into a small hollow. The ostrich, busy driving off her enemies, had forgotten it. And now it lies there, alone, out of the giant mother's sight, its fracture already split wide open. The captain lets out one very soft squeak, and the whole squad, without another word, slips through the grass toward the real prize. It turns out they never needed to defeat the ostrich at all.
A hot wind
They
blows
only
across
needed
the
to
red
keep her
dunes, shifting
too
the
busy to
sand and
notice.
challenging the wildlife
In the
that
shade of
calls
the
this
grass,
arid landscape
the whole
home.
mob gathers around the cracked egg. The last of the vault finally gives way. Inside is the feast they risked their lives for. One by one, they take turns dipping in their snouts, sharing it out with surprising order. The largest making room for the smallest, the babysitters carrying portions back to the pups waiting in the burrow. No greed, no fighting. Just a family that has survived one more day of the desert. And the ostrich? She's still standing there, towering over her nest, completely unaware she's just been outwitted. In her eyes, she is the winner. She drove off the thieves and kept nearly all her young. And honestly, she's right. For the price of a single egg, an entire future generation of hers is safe. That is the beautiful thing about the Kalahari. Out here, there are no villains and no heroes, only creatures doing their absolute best to live one more day. The ostrich protects her young with strength. The Meerkat Mob feeds its young with cunning. And today, both of them won, each in their own way. The biggest doesn't always win. The fastest doesn't always cross the line first. On these plains, sometimes the winner is simply the one who knows how to wait for the right moment, and knows that 30 small heads, all thinking in the same direction, can outmatch a giant. The sun begins to set over the Kalahari. Bellies full, the tiny squad lines up to head home, tails held high like little exclamation marks against the red sand. Tomorrow, hunger will call again, and the desert will set a brand new challenge. But that is a story for another day. If you found yourself quietly rooting for these tiny thieves, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next battle for survival out on the wild savannah. See you in the next one.